This afternoon, we are going to talk about anti-dilution provisions. This is part 2 of an 8-part series on venture terms. And anti-dilution provisions are really, we're going to talk about the down round protection. Your Series A investors, they paid $10 per share. Your Series B now, they happen at $5 per share due to market conditions. Suddenly, your Series A investors own twice as much of your company. How? Because they have included anti-dilution provision in their term sheet. This term sheet clause can dramatically shift ownership when things are not going according to plan. So the anti-dilution provisions, they protect the investors when your next funding round, they happen at a lower price per share than their investment. There are two main types, and the difference between them can cost a founder millions in ownership because of the transfer. Understanding this term is crucial because down rounds happen more often than founders expect. So we're going to combine this along with what we talked about liquidation preferences in video 1. And you'll have a very thorough understanding of the two key terms. The anti-dilution provisions, they adjust the investor's conversion price when you raise money at a lower valuation. So let me give you an example, the setup. Again, I don't have a whiteboard here, so I'm just going to talk through it. Series A, investor buys 2 million shares at $10 a share, so they make a $20 million investment. The initial ownership is really 20% of the company. Now Series B comes in, they happen at $5 per share, and it's a down round and no anti-dilution over there. So the investor keeps their 2 million shares, the ownership percentage decreases as new shares are issued. However, with anti-dilution, the investors' share convert as if they paid a lower price, increasing their ownership. You follow? So sometimes you have the type 1 where you have this weighted average anti-dilution clause. It's more founder friendly. It adjusts a conversion price based on a formula, and it considers things like how much money was raised in the down round, how many shares were issued, what is the price difference. So a simple example might be, let's say you have the original price, as we talked about, $10 per share, and your down round in Series B is $5, and the amount raised in down round, let's say, is $5 million. It's a small round. So now you have a weighted average adjustment that might reduce the conversion price to $8 a share instead of $5. So it results in a modest increase in investor ownership in Series A, proportional to the down round impact. Now watch out for this full ratchet anti-dilution clause. It'll kill you. It'll blow you apart. This adjusts the conversion price to match the lowest price paid by anyone, right? Same example. Let's look at the original price, $10 per share. Down round price, $5 per share. Now you have the full ratchet adjustment coming into life. Now the conversion price becomes $5 per share. Result, investors' ownership has doubled from 20 to 40%. So what is the impact? What is a full ratchet impact? If the original, you have 2 million shares at $10, which is like a 20% ownership. After full ratchet, shares convert at $5. Now the investor now owns 4 million equivalent shares. The new ownership has doubled, 40%. Whereas if you look at the weighted average that I talked about, the 2 million shares at $10 per share, 20% ownership. After weighted average, because the prices are now at $8, investors has 2.5 million equivalent shares. The new ownership has gone up by 25%, or is that 25%? It's a modest increase. You see the difference right now? 40%, 25%. And let's talk through one of the scenarios that I talked in 2. SaaS company raises a $15 million Series A at $60 million pre-money valuation, $6 per share. Then the market crashes and the Series B happens at $30 million pre-money, $3 per share. You have a full ratchet provision. So the Series A investor ownership jumps from 20 to 40%, and the founders just lost 20% ownership due to market conditions way beyond their control. However, with weighted average, like I spoke about, the Series A investor ownership increases to maybe 25%. Much less painful for founders. They lose only 5%. So there's a broad base versus a narrow base calculation. Weighted average can be calculated Couple of different ways. A broad-based calculation includes all outstanding shares in the calculation, which is more founder-friendly. A narrow-based would only include a smaller base, smaller denominator, only includes certain share classes, less founder-friendly. Always try to negotiate for broad-based if you must accept weighted average. So what is a negotiation strategy? Best case, no anti-dilution provisions. What is an acceptable case? A very broad-based weighted average. Avoid, if possible, those narrow-based weighted average. It could be dangerous. Try never to accept full ratchet unless you're completely desperate. Don't do that. And sometimes, put some anchors on time limits. Sometimes you can negotiate time limits. Anti-dilution clauses expires 24 months after investment. You can actually do the pay-to-play provisions. That's a good point. It can be paired with anti-dilution. Investors only get protection if they participate in the down round. So that way you are benefiting from a guaranteed funding down the road. The anti-dilution provisions are insurance for investors that comes at the cost of founder ownership. The difference between weighted average and full ratchet can mean the difference between losing 5% ownership and losing 20% in a down round. Market conditions change, sometimes not predictable. And down rounds do happen. I've seen several down rounds happening. So negotiate those anti-dilution terms, assuming you might need them, because once they are in your term sheet, they're very hard to remove. So the next session, we will dive into the board composition and the board control. Who really runs your company when push comes to shove? See you soon.